Hello and welcome to Orion Now. I'm Chris Barnett, Orion Township Supervisor. Today we'll be joined by Blessings in a Backpack and SOS, so stay tuned for this episode of Orion Now. Thanks for tuning in. I'm pleased to welcome our first guest today, Angela Snyder and Lilly Snyder of Blessings in a Backpack. So first off, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Glad you're here as well. Lilly, thanks for being here. So tell me a little bit, first of all, what is Blessings in a Backpack?
Well, Blessings in a Backpack is basically a neighbor helping neighbor program. It's a national organization. It provides food to at-risk children on the weekends, children that are at risk of hunger. They get a backpack on Friday, and it provides them with 6 meals to help kind of sustain them over the weekend.
Okay,
food.
Amazing. So when did you get involved in Blessings in a Backpack here in Lake Orion?
I actually attended a meeting almost 2 years ago this November, and was actually really surprised to hear the number of children that were hungry in our backyard. I am a graduate of Lake Orion High School. I've lived here most all of my life, and so it was surprising to me that it was happening in our backyard, basically.
Right, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that there are students in our schools that don't have food, literally don't have meals to eat over the weekend, which the first time I heard about it was actually through you a couple years ago. And I was pretty astonished at the number of students that go home and don't have meals to eat. So
absolutely, we're at about 1,500 children in Lake Orion right now.
Wow, that's unbelievable. So 15. Do you know how many total students in our district?
Well, that's about 10% of
Okay.
our district. So I don't know, does that put it about 15?
Yeah, so about
1,000-ish?
Yeah, so about 10% of our students don't have meals to eat. So they get a backpack Friday afternoon.
Correct.
And why in a backpack? Why not send them home with a grocery bag?
Well, you know what? Actually, I have to tell you that the process has changed just a little bit in Lake Orion. It was originally designed for school-age children, elementary school-age children, and a backpack that was doesn't say Blessings in a Backpack or anything on it. It's not to be, that so kids don't feel like other people know like what's going on. So they just would receive it in a backpack. But we've actually switched to cinch sacks. So we pack it in a Meyer bag. We pack from the Cirque building on Wednesdays, and all the food goes into a Meyer's little grocery bag. And then once it's delivered to the school on Thursdays, the office staff puts those into little cinch sacks, so they just can kind of cinch it up and stick it in their backpack or however they want to carry it home. Makes it a little bit more easy. And also we have older children that are in the program too, so the cinch sack seems to be working well for us this year.
Right. So Lilly, so you're involved, one, because your mom's involved, and you have your mom's pretty awesome, isn't she?
Yes.
Okay, that's on camera.
Yeah.
But tell me, why did you get involved? Besides your mom probably had encouraged you to get involved, but what does it mean to you, and what do you think about the kids in your class maybe don't have food over the weekend?
Well, it's weird to think that people I sit next to in class or sit in the same room are going home without food to eat. So even if I don't know anybody like that, because it's pretty secretive, they try to keep it nonchalant, I think that I just really wanted to help because it's just a good way to get involved in a community event, and I think that's a great way to help out the students who don't have food.
That's really cool. So it's pretty surprised. I was pretty surprised when I heard the number myself. There's 10% of one out of every 10 kids doesn't have probably the proper food to eat over the weekend. And talk a little bit about the first time I heard about it was you kind of shared some numbers of what does that mean to a kid and their school performance that doesn't have proper meals over the weekend?
Absolutely. Actually, one of the things that staff and counselors were noticing, not just in our community, but just even across the nation, is that with this program, kids are coming to school on Monday and they're sluggish, they're not performing well with tests because, like we say, I mean, I know when I'm hungry, it's very hard to focus on different things. So student performance was, way down, maybe even attendance was down, and the statistics have shown since implementing programs into the schools that kids are coming to school after they've been, fed, their bellies are full on Mondays. They're showing up because they want to be there, through the week. They bring the backpack back on Mondays so that it is, filled back up. And also test scores go up, behavioral issues seem to have declined, and just all around, the atmosphere becomes a much more positive environment when kids are not hungry. They're getting fed.
That's amazing. So we have some pretty amazing partners in this venture. Obviously, you do fundraising.
We do.
We'll talk about that in a minute. But you mentioned Meyer earlier. Talk a little bit about their involvement in the program.
Actually, Meyer is phenomenal in the fact that we get our food at such a discounted rate that there's no way that we could do this without something like that. I mean, the cost would be astronomical. So Meyer gives us an absolute substantial discount on the food, and that way all students are receiving the same food, because I know a lot of people in the community have asked, well, can we drop off food? Can we bring in canned goods? Because a lot of times they're not really sure how it all works.
Right.
And as much as that would be, wonderful, we really do stick with ordering, on a monthly basis for the number of students that we need. So every student is getting the exact same thing in their backpack when they go home at a real affordable price. It costs us about $100 per school year to feed one student. Okay. So if somebody was looking to, make a donation and they wanted to say, wow, how do you do it? If they gave a $100 donation, that's going to cover the cost to feed one student for the entire school year.
Okay. Wow, very neat. So we get the food from Meyer, gets dropped off at the Cirque, and then you have obviously a team descend on Wednesdays. So the backpacking process.
Yes.
I'm assuming you guys probably have a little bit of fun. And
yeah,
you're doing
you know
a
what?
good
We
deed.
actually work with a really good group of people on our steering committee, and our community has stepped up just amazingly. I mean, we don't really ever have to beg for help because it's really always there to assist. So basically the food does get dropped off at the Cirque. We have our wonderful leadership kids that will come and they do the setup on Tuesdays with Scott Ackerman. He is the chairperson for our food and packing. Okay. And then it gets packed on Wednesdays, so we'll have people that sign up via Sign Up Genius, and they come in and they volunteer and they pack the backpacks on Wednesdays. And then we have another group of parent liaisons that come and they get their bins and they make sure that the bins get taken to their schools on Thursdays. And then the backpacks are sent home on Fridays and returned on Monday, and the whole process starts over again.
So how many volunteers would you say are involved in the process? Any idea?
Well, there's a lot of volunteers obviously that are involved, but I would say that to make all of that work, I would say that there's probably about 20 to 25 people, like on a weekly basis, that are involved with making sure that it runs smoothly and that everything that needs to get done gets taken care of.
Okay, wow, that's pretty amazing. So someone that's watching this, and I'm assuming, I know I've heard about the program, and it's one of the great things about our community, and I keep saying over and over, this community always helps those in need. I would say better than anybody around us, but I'm a little bit biased. But we really do look out for others, which I love. And I know that's why you got involved, and you have a great heart. And Kelly is your co-chair, right?
Yes, Kelly McDonald is the co-chair with me.
Okay.
Yep.
So I know you guys kicked this off. How can someone help? How can someone that's hearing about this for the first time, or maybe they've known about it, how can they help? How can they get involved?
Well, you can obviously get involved if you wanted to volunteer by packing or getting involved in our steering committee. And then, of course, making a monetary donation is a huge way to get involved, because the only way to keep it going year after year is if we have enough money to sustain it. And you can actually go to www.blessingsinabagpacklakeorion.org to get the information that's needed.
Okay. So, Lily, what do you think about this program now that you've been involved in a little bit?
I think it's a great program. I think that it really helps the students who are in need of food and who are hungry. I think that my mom and anyone who helps with this program is doing a great thing for our community.
I agree. So I just want to just restate that. $100 feeds a student Saturday and Sunday.
Yep.
Friday night, Saturday and Sunday for an entire school year.
Absolutely.
$100.
Yep.
So I think that's a great challenge if you're watching this to consider donating $100 and thinking every weekend, which is pretty neat, that while you're doing what you do on your weekend, that you were actually, that $100 donation, which is probably less than 1 or 2 Starbucks a month,
Yes.
is actually feeding a student who doesn't have food. So,
And I was going to say, too, that we are very excited to announce that we will be in all of the schools in November. Right now, we have all of our elementary schools and Oakview that are participating, and we will be bringing on Scripps and Walden in November. So we will be feeding about 320 students every week come this November.
okay, great. Okay, so do you have any upcoming events that we could watch for that if you don't want to just write a $100 check, which you should, but
Well, as you know, Trivia Night, because you came to Trivia Night last
I
year,
did.
was a big event and it was a lot of fun. And we've moved that instead of the fall time frame. We're going to be doing that on January 24th
Okay.
at the Knights of Columbus. They've partnered with us again this year. And so look forward to Trivia Night. Information will be coming out regarding that very shortly. And that's our biggest fundraiser that we kind of have right now that's set in stone.
Great. Well, I want to thank you both for coming in. I want to thank you both for what you're doing in our community. Even though it might not seem like a big thing, you are making a huge impact on a lot of kids' lives. So thank you. So stay tuned for our next segment, which is very similar, another group that's helping those in need in our community.
The Orion Lighted Parade is a tradition that ushers in the holiday season here in the Orion area. Families line the streets in the village to enjoy this festive event, but it wouldn't be possible without the Holly Jolly Folly. This year's fundraiser is scheduled to take place on Friday, December 5th at Golling Buick GMC, located at 1491 South Lapeer Road. Enjoy live entertainment, a silent auction, a cash bar, and a 50-50 raffle. Food will be provided by Italia Gardens. Tickets are $35 per person and are available at Golling Buick GMC. For more information, call the Orion Area Parade Group at 248-802-5521 or visit orionlightedparade.org.
Welcome back to Orion Now. My next group of guests I'm extremely excited to have on the show today. SOS is an initiative that started a couple years ago at Lake Orion High School, and it has nothing to do with a ship on the water. So SOS stands for Students Offering Support, and today I'm joined by Miss Amy Redmond, who is a teacher at the high school, Carly, Emma, and Jeff. So thank you everyone for joining me. So who wants to jump in here first? Tell me a little bit about SOS. What is it and how did it get started?
SOS was really started a few years ago as an initiative in the community, coming together with the district, talking about ways to deal with crisis in our community, with some death by suicides that happened in Lake Orion that really shook up the community. And so it started with a group of adults about, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, and then those adults really decided, with the leadership of Mrs. Giannopoulos, that students need to be involved, that we need to use them as a resource because they're such a valuable resource in really solving these issues. So that's how it started, where we involved students to kind of support each other in times of crisis and make mental health awareness, lose the stigma of it, and to support each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, I was involved in some of those first meetings, and all of us adults and parents got together, and we had all the solutions, and we had a big event at St. Joe's Church, and then we kind of were like, okay, so what do we do next? And you're right, we realized that in order for this to really be successful, it couldn't just be the staff and adults in our community trying to tell students what to do. We needed to have the students buy in. So SOS was birthed and began, and you all got involved at some point in time. So tell me a little bit about, Jeff, how did you get involved in SOS and why?
Well, I am new this year to SOS, but I kind of, I don't know why I didn't do it last year. I guess I missed the deadline. But I really feel strongly about this, and I am really happy that I got involved.
Okay. And if maybe we can go back one step. I know, Carly, you have a real personal reason that you got involved and maybe even came to our district. So if you're willing to kind of explain that to us.
Yeah. In 8th grade, I was kind of, without knowing it yet, I have major depression disorder. And in 8th grade, I attempted suicide, but thankfully it didn't happen. And so I can connect to it on a really personal level, and I feel very strongly about just the whole teen suicide and just helping each other out.
That's amazing. So you've been personally affected by this. And I think that's the thing that I've noticed through some of the training sessions is that even if you haven't personally been to that level, everybody has dealt with depression to some extent. And I think, so to me, that's what SOS is about, is we're all going to deal with it. And your job isn't to fix the problems, but it's to be someone that can say, I've been there, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the key components of SOS. So you guys are doing some training, right? Mm-hmm. Talk about that, Emma.
Okay, so last Wednesday we actually went to the Cirque building, and SOS is grades 9th through 12th, so anyone is allowed to be a part of it and anyone who wants to help others. So we went to the Cirque last Wednesday, and we were trained on one station was being trained on the lesson that we would demonstrate to the rest of the school, and we will do that during our 2A class sometime during the next couple of weeks. And then the other stations, I guess you would say, we just kind of got to know each other because we needed to start from ground level because there are so many new people to SOS this year, like Jeff said. So we needed to really connect personally with each other before we actually reached out and helped one another. So that's what last week was all about.
Okay. So I had the opportunity to sit in on some of the training. I'm being trained as well. And the session I was involved in kind of facilitating was where you took a little chip, and there was an area around the room that you walked around and put a chip next to each sign that you could say yes to. And some of them were if you have plans for the weekend and if you have friends that you can call on. But some of them were pretty heavy, like have you dealt with depression? Do you know, you or yourself know someone that has attempted suicide? Are your parents divorced? Things like that. And that was really eye-opening for me because so many students of the SOS kids, that these are the kids that are the ones that have it all together, so that are going to be leading the school, all have struggles with the same things. So to me that was pretty eye-opening. I'm wondering if you guys had any sort of feedback from that exercise.
No, I thought the same thing. When you said the chips when they put down for having plans for the weekend, there was almost all of the group that we had in there had chips laid down, and then you went around and then it said, ever felt alone or unwanted, and then it was the same amount. So it was crazy to think that, well, maybe they have plans for this weekend, but they may be by themselves, like studying or doing something like that. So that was really interesting to see.
And so talk about the stigma. So, you know, I mean, I know when I was in school, these weren't things that we talked about. And I think that we still struggle with a lot of the same things. I mean, maybe now with the social media, there's different types of pressures. But what do you think that this is going to do to really address the stigma of if you're depressed or feeling alone or having real problems that you can't talk about? How do you think this is going to help?
Personally, I think that with this stigma, it is kind of diminishing, and with getting the word out there, it's making sure that you don't feel alone and that you shouldn't feel embarrassed if you have a depression or you just need to talk to somebody, that there's people there to help.
Right. What do you think, Carly?
I think that it's amazing. I know in Clarkston, no one really talked about like these issues, and it's just, if you heard about, oh, this kid did that, this kid like hurt themselves, it's all like, oh wow, it's kind of like a really big deal over there. Over here, it's just more of you actually go up to someone and talk to them, and you can like kind of face these issues.
And it's important to say that Carly came from Clarkston that she was a student there and decided to transfer into Lake Orion, and part of the reason was that support, you know,
Yeah.
that what we offered in the district. So.
Well, that's great, and that's one of the things that I love. Obviously, this is not a fun thing to talk about,
Yeah.
the overall issue, but I love that our community, just like with the Blessings in a Backpack group, same thing with this. We don't just sit back and let things happen. We jump in, we're proactive, and there were, I think, about 300 students. Do you know last Thursday that went through the training?
It was 278.
278 students that are committed to being involved in helping to educate, which is just amazing. That's more than 10. That's about 10% of the population at the high school.
Yeah.
So last year, actually the first year this kicked off, there was a component called Go To 5, and that's still a big part of SOS. So what is Go To 5? Who wants to talk about that? Emma, jump in there.
Okay. Go To 5 is like the top 5 people that you feel like you can go talk to in time of crisis, or if you're just having a bad day or need someone to talk to. So I still have my Go To 5. It's sitting on my vanity in my room, and I always look at that. And your Go To 5 can change, and mine has changed. And it's just to give you that support that you need and really let you know that someone's there to help you.
So it's a card,
Yeah.
and on the card it says that if you're in crisis, you basically agree that you will call your Go To 5,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so then last year, the second year I think of SOS, there was a different lesson. And you guys, what was last year about?
Stress. Yeah. It was just about kind of pinpointing what can get us stressed out, kind of how we deal with our stress, and just kind of acknowledging other ways that we could cope with stress.
Okay, very cool. And now this year, and I know you guys just went through training Thursday, so we don't expect you to be experts on it, but this year, what's the lesson this year, Jeff?
Crisis.
Grit.
Grit. I'm sorry.
All right, I was just if you're paying attention. All right, so grit. And so what is grit? What does grit mean to you, and why does it play into this whole SOS?
Grit is resilience. It is when you get knocked down, you get back up, you want to keep trying, you just keep pushing through.
Okay. What do you guys, would you agree? Any different interpretation?
Yeah, the video that we saw was perseverance, and what you said was resilience. So if you fall down, you get back up and you keep chugging along, and you just really try to get over that. Just have the courage to do that.
Okay. So now for the next few months, you and 275 of your fellow students are going to be going into every classroom, right? And going through this lesson about grit with the student body. And you're also, I'm sure, going to talk about, part of that was the Go To 5, reminding people of some of the things from the past. What do you guys expect that's going to be like? And I know, Jeff, you're new this year. Is this your first year, Emma? You were involved.
No,
Yeah, I know you've been involved, and I know you've been involved, Carly. So what do you expect that's going to be like? Or maybe your experience from years past?
I think that it's going to be a lot more different from the past years, because they were kind of a bit surprised, like, oh, we're actually kind of doing something. I think this year, especially with grit, it's going to be really actually fun. It's more of a fun, not so like upsetting topic. I think it'll be a lot more, the kids will be more willing to like participate.
Okay. And then let me ask you this question, Amy, from a staff perspective, and you've been on staff for a while, Lake Orion High School. What have you seen over the past couple years since SOS has sort of kicked off?
I've seen an amazing transformation of students supporting students, and I know that sounds kind of silly to say because that's our group, SOS, Students Offering Support. But there is just, I'm amazed by our students and how, we're not perfect. We still have all the same problems that many schools and communities have. I mean, bullying has been there since, you and I had those things going on, and when we were kids, that's there. But there's just such an awareness of support and talking about it, and it's slowly, I've seen a transformation. There has been a breakdown of some of those behaviors, and more kids standing up and saying, not accepting. There's more dialogue about it. I think it's really, I've seen personally, firsthand, how it's been really great for our school and our students.
That's amazing. And I've seen it too. I have a daughter that just graduated high school last year, and I have a freshman this year, so I'll be there for a while. But I've seen it too. And one of the things that's encouraging to me is, again, it's dealing with the stigma.
Yeah.
I've actually since I've been involved, I've had students come to me and tell me, and I'm sure you guys have had classmates and other students that have actually talked about the difference that this program has made. They were close to making a really bad decision or something like that. And I hear in our community and outside of our greater community, I can't believe all the bad things that have happened in Orion. And my counter to that is, you don't have any idea all the great things that are happening that have happened.
Absolutely.
You can't it's really hard to quantify this program, right? Like, you don't know how many lives you may have saved, but I know there are some. So,
yeah, we know there are some.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's really encouraging. The other thing that I'm excited about this year is, I know that none of us are doing this for the recognition. It's just an amazing group of students. But at the training last Thursday, there were some community leaders there and some business leaders in our community that are really buying in and that are getting involved. And we're getting noticed in a good way. So talk a little bit about that. I know we've been to the Chrysler headquarters, we've been to Oakland University to present. Where else have you guys, I know some of you that are more involved, and maybe this is more for you, Amy, people are taking notice of Lake Orion.
Yeah, we had received a proclamation from the Township, Oakland County Commissioners. We were recognized there, and that was a great honor to be presented with that. And we have definitely been asked by Oakland County Health Division to help other schools start a similar program. So it's being piloted, I believe, in Pontiac and Waterford. So this is going to go, Oakland County wide, and other schools that want to start something like this, we're going to help them. So we ask students are going to be involved in that, and we are asked to present in other, areas. Wayne State, I think, has asked us, and we've been, like mentioned, Oakland University and Chrysler, and so it's, there's such value in it, and it's obvious because we've been recognized and we're being asked to help others really follow through with something similar.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
So I guess I just ask each one of you, and you can kind of go in whatever order you want. What's driven you? You're obviously here talking to me about it right now. You're engaged, you're involved. I see you as some of the key leaders of the whole high school. Why, for you personally, are you choosing to be involved with this?
Okay, I'll go. Personally, leadership has been the way of life for a long time for me, and I'm involved in the leadership class, and the SOS program was brought to me by my brother, Jacob Burkle, so he went to Mr. Z and kind of initiated it and then got me involved, and so I really wanted to take the leadership aspect and really take SOS to new levels and really reach out to my peers and let them know that I'm always here to support them. Even if I don't have a personal story behind myself, I can still reach out and help those in need. So.
That's great. What about you, Jeff?
Well, about a year ago, I went through a really rough time. I had some friends who were not so much of friends, and I put too much trust into them than they deserved. And I was diagnosed with depression, and I was having suicidal thoughts. And I got help from different students and staff members, and I really realized how close this community is, and I really wanted to get involved in something like this.
Awesome. That's really cool. And Carly, you told us a little bit of your story, but you're just like a glimmer of, like, every time I see you, you're smiling.
Thanks.
So, but obviously you're personally touched. Is there any reason that, besides that you're sticking with this?
It's just, like with Jeff, just knowing how awful it can be, like feeling like that. It's just want to make sure no one else has to deal with it.
Right. What a great time. Thanks for spending a little bit of time with us today and hearing about two amazing things happening in our community. Until next time, see you on Orion Now.